With over 2.2 million Nigerian students sitting for the recent UTME being conducted by JAM, only about 1 million has been released just yesterday. The parents are already asking what seems to be wrong with the JAM, especially as it concerns the Unified Tertiary Matriculation exam. Should more be done indeed to ensure that more transparency and indeed accountability is being seen as they in every way conduct exam for our children? Well, anyway, I want you to ponder that in mind, but first of all, I want to quickly welcome you to another great time on television. You do know it's Viewpoint, and indeed, it's always that lovely time of the day, from Monday to Friday, that will tend to make your morning truly enjoyable. I still remain Michael Gobadia. Well, you do know I'm never alone, always have a colleague right here with me. I'm talking about Patience Monday. Patience, a lovely weekend, and a one we are now trying to see how we can really make Nigerians enjoy being with us all through the week. A better way to start it off, rather than starting off on these notes.
Good morning, Mr. Michael. It's good to see you again.
Well, nice to also see you.
I hope your weekend was eventful.
Well, anyway, you can say that again.
You know, you would have been my man crush Monday, but then you're taken.
Well, no worries.
Anyway, you know, Viewpoint will begin with the dailies, and then we move straight to dialogue, and then the news comes around. Do well to connect with us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, on Atlantic Media and TV. We go on this quick break. When we return, the dailies will be next.
Well, you do know the papers always kickstart things right here on Viewpoint. And for review today, we have 6 papers. We have the Vanguard, the Punch, Guardian, The Nation, Daily Trust, and Nigerian Tribune. I'd like to start with the Punch, and let's see if the Punch has its usual puncher as we kickstart it together. APC may scrap consensus plan in flashpoint states. I was still talking about the 2027 battle lines. All right, as to follow, party may side with governors as Fintri, Ribadu, Sule, Abdulrazak camps deadlock. President may step in to resolve impasse in Nasarawa, Kwara, and Dawa. APC to roll out National Assembly, governorship, presidential, prime minister timetable. Funny enough today. But anyway, I'll just tell you to grab that copy of the Punch today and read all of that story. Let's see if we take some other lady stories still on the front page of the Punch this morning. El-Rufai alleged plot to stall release. It's a screamer on page 8. Petrol price drop in doubt after Homes disruption. I remember a whole lot played out yesterday as it concerned the Strait of Hormuz. But anyway, I'll just tell you to read up that story on page 27. Pay rise. Sano reject federal government 30% offer. It's also a screamer on page 8. Federal government votes 1.4 billion naira for Boko Haram terrorist trial. A huge sum. But anyway, I'll tell you to read up that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Let's see if we still take some other lady story or still on the front page of the Punch. A whole lot seems to be there. Why IMF World Bank loans cost developing nations more? And this is accredited to G24 Director on page 27. NDLEA intercept cocaine hidden in food flags at Lagos Airport. Wow, they're becoming more innovative. But I'll tell you to get more of that story up on page 5. Offer robbery, Kwara APC PDP's power as DPP report clears Saraki. Well, long time coming, but page 7 has the story. The picture of the day, we're really elevated and happy though. Our last 6 exam shift has rescued UTME candidates narrator deal. And we're just happy that they've finally been released. And we're still talking about the UTME. And then we'll be looking at all of that later on dialogue. But I'll just implore you to read that story up on page 4 and 5. And funny enough, like I said, it makes a picture of the day. That's the much you can take from the Punch.
Let's check out stories making it to the headline on The Guardian this morning. And on The Guardian, the latest story, election data at risk as hackers hold government agency, bank to ransom. Can read up that story on page 6. Still on the front page, 55% of children in Nigeria unprotected from mosquito bites. Well, that is a major one on page 3. Federal government denies revenue mismanagement, tax regional commission. Still on page 3 of The Guardian this morning. Kwakwaso loses NNPP grip as Shekaru formally joins APC. Well, it's interesting to get more details on page 29. Let's see if we can still get more of the leading stories still on the front page of The Guardian. Serap condemns censorship of broadcast station by NBC. Well, that very story is on page 4. Lagos NMA removes chairman over alleged infractions. Still on page 5 of The Guardian. Terror attack. Expert prefer measures to Nigerian airport vulnerabilities. You can get all of that on page 4. Systemic inefficiency cartel maritime explosion cost Nigeria $10 billion yearly. Wow. Well, that is a major one on page 4. 2027, Lagos APC wants local government chairman against endorsing aspirants. Well, it's interesting to get more details on page 5. Countdown to primaries on status parties triggers defection internal disputes. That very story is on page 6. SANO reject 30% pay rise, threaten indefinite strike. Well, you can get more details on page 7, still on The Guardian newspaper. Parents ground over rising cost of education as students resume today. Well, that very story is on page 7 of The Guardian newspaper. Let's see the picture of the day. Well, the picture of the day is a screamer of the latest story, talking about cyber attack as election data at risk. That is all we can take on The Guardian this morning.
Well, let's quickly run to see the nation. Just a few headlines on the nation. But the major screamer of the nation, government explains fact deductions, and more of a big story on page 2. I still remember some governors already screaming out their lungs out on account of those deductions. But I'll just employ them also to take the nation and read it up on page 2. Let's see if we take some other leading stories. And this major one is more like a tribute and to our fallen heroes. And this is as we mourn our fallen together, let us also honor them by standing united in defense of peace, freedom, and future they gave everything for. And this is attributed to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi, and he's really giving that out. And we right here on Atlantic TV, our heart goes out to those that have paid the ultimate price to keep Nigeria one and to keep Nigerians safe. We constantly remain in their depths, and we truly appreciate them. But anyway, just a major screamer also on the front page of the nation. Let's see if we take some other leading ones. And well, anyway, just one major story and also emphasizes the picture of the day. We're talking about the Bauchi 2027. Senator Shehu Baba Umar declares governorship bid and cites contributions to people's welfare and party strength. And you can see all of that celebration yesterday in no order but Bauchi State. Well, anyway, that's the much you can take from the nation. But funny enough, it's a lead story you can also read up on page 4 and 5 of the Nation newspaper.
Moving on to the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And on the Nigerian Tribune, the lead story, terrorist reintegration plan, ADC wins Tinubu's government. And the writer to that very story, without justice is not reconciled. Commuter dies of gunshot wound. 2 injured in kidnap attempt on Ijebu-Ode Ibadan Road. Well, that's a very sad one. Benue government wants JAMB to reschedule exam for 8 rescued UTME candidates. Well, you can get all of that on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Still on the front page of the Nigeria Tribune, how bank recapitalization exposed hidden wealth, deep inequality. Well, that very story is on page 6. Moving on, federal government clears hair on missing revenue claims, says World Bank report misread. That very story is on page 3. Rising fuel energy costs drove Nigeria's inflation, says experts. Well, you can get more details on page 6. Still on the front page, Makinde Olubadan issue reserved CC2 says. That very story is on page 3. Article Serap opposed NBC advisory code. Well, you can get more details on page 24 of the Nigeria Tribune. Sano threatens indefinite strike after April over lingering negotiation. Well, you can get more story, or more, can that story continue on page 4? Offer robbery, how federal DPP cleared Saraki. You can get that details on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. And talking health, scientists develop injection that heals heart after heart attack. Wow, that is a major one on page 4. Then the picture of the day is that of the 152nd General Assembly of the IPU held in Turkey on Saturday. That is all we can take on the Nigeria Tribune this morning. And moving on to the Daily Trust, let's see what the Daily Trust has for us this morning. And in the lead story, 2025, Army gets 7% disbursement for security equipment. And the riders to that, Presidential Fleet takes priority over Nigerian Air Force aircraft maintenance. Well, it interests you to read all of that on page 31. That story continues on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Trust. Still on the front page, Sokoto onion farmers lose 65 stores to fire. Well, that is a very sad and disturbing one on page 31. I hope the cost of onion will not be expensive at the market.
I just hope so.
Nasarawa, Wadada's choice divides APC. Well, that story continues on page 12. Nigerians pay 84.36 billion naira for meters in 2025. We'll get more details on page 23. Let's see if we still have some leading stories still on the front page of the Daily Trust. UTME candidates over abductors beat us, forced us to drink dirty water. Oh, it's a very sad one on page 35. And the picture of the day, is that of the Nigerian Air Force maintenance versus presidential fleet. Oh, that is all we can take on the Daily Trust this morning.
Well, the Vanguard will be the last paper for us to quickly look at. And on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, quite different headline. Recapitalization crunch, 12 insurers at risk. Regulator insists on deadline. Some insurers consider scaling down. But I'll tell you not to scale down on that story. Well, grab a copy of the Vanguard and read on page 11. Let's see if we take some other latest stories. Still on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Yes, a major one. State of the nation, Nigerian trapped in flawed security architecture. Yeah, saying that on page 14. And the Vanguard economic discourse, farmers, food entrepreneurs brainstorm for sector's growth. Well, anyway, I hope that brainstorming will lead to more food production. But I'll just implore you to read over that story on page 13. Ojumoba Gobia chairs a Vanguard Personality of the Year Award on Friday. Well, I would love to hear that on page 8. And World Bank reports no leakages in federal government revenue. And federation revenue, says the federal government on page 40. Let's see if we take some other leading stories still on the front page of the Vanguard. Routine raid turns fatal. Did policemen kill fleeing youth or he drowned? I remember this played out in Delta State, quite disturbing. Page 10 seems to have more of that story. Attempt to gag broadcasters. Article Serap Amnesty International slam Nigerian, or rather, let's just call it NBC, but the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation on page 9. Pirated up 20 passengers, including UTME candidates in Calabar. When would stop this? But anyway, I'll just tell you to read up that story on page 6. Shekarawa dumps PDP, rejoins APC as Yusuf welcomes move. It's a major one on page 30. ADC leadership, why 3 rival blocks are locked in do or die battle. And you can battle up that story up on page 5. Governor Abdul Razak Saraki at each other's throats over Offa robbery is a major one on page 6 and 30 of the Vanguard newspaper. 2027, Enugu West backs Tinubu Mba for second term. It's also a screamer on page 28. But the picture of the day is